It's a long way from Las Vegas to China, and still a long time until Team USA tips off as the two-time defending World Cup champions. But tonight is an important step as the Americans get a good long look at the roster in competition under the bright lights in Las Vegas. You're watching USA Basketball on NBA TV, presented by Nike. It's the blue-white game, the final day of the first week for Team USA, and our first look at the 2019 World Cup group. Welcome into our coverage here on NBA TV. Great to have you with us here from Las Vegas and T-Mobile Arena. Greg Anthony, homecoming from you.
Yes.
As always, I'm Matt Weiner. Kristen Ledlow will be with us throughout the game, and a short while ago, she spoke with arguably the biggest star on this relatively low-profile squad.
Kemba, you've quickly become the face of this U.S. men's national team. What are you hoping to gain from this experience?
I want to win a medal. That's really it. We're taking it day by day, practice by practice. Right now, about to play this game. Just continue to get better each and every day, each and every practice. These guys has been putting in so much work, and it's been fun being around them.
Is it possible to sum up the off season that you've had?
Not at all. It's been great. I've been blessed. I'm having an amazing summer, and hopefully, it can continue.
Amazing. That's the word you'd use to sum it up then.
No question. Amazing.
All right. Good luck, guys.
All right, thanks, Kristen. And Greg, Kemba Walker is the only all-NBA player on this roster. So much of the discussion this week has been about who's not here. The group is here, has to be pared down to 12 before competition begins in China.
Yeah, and listen, there's still a challenge ahead for that coaching staff led by Greg Popovich in terms of trying to curtail that roster.
All right, let's hear from Donovan Mitchell, who's about to address the crowd here in Las Vegas.
Fans, please welcome to center court, Donovan Mitchell.
On behalf of USA Basketball, I just want to say thank you guys for coming out and showing your support. We look forward to going out to China representing the USA and winning the gold. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you,
Donovan
Donovan.
Mitchell, one of the young stars who is on this roster right now. In terms of who ultimately makes the cut, we spoke with Greg Popovich yesterday. On a 12-man roster, first and foremost, he values versatility, guys who can do multiple things. And frankly, because you don't have some of the A-list stars on this team you might just hand the ball off to and let them go, he wants ball movement from this group.
Listen, he's known for that. If you look at that entire staff, you got Steve Kerr on there, those are guys that really have bought into the ability to space the floor, play without the basketball, and so that's where you're going to get the opportunity to teach some of these younger players who typically have not yet developed that skill set, a la a guy like Jason Tatum. The other aspect of it I think benefits Pop and his staff, though, is because they don't have those alpha superstars. These guys, I think, are more amenable to being coached and buying into a system that they're trying to implement here for the World Championships.
And collectively, there might be something to prove for these guys as well. They know the chatter going on this week and the last couple of weeks as those star players have dropped out from consideration for this roster.
True, but listen, this is a legacy-defining moment still, because you're still playing for a World Championship, for a gold medal, and all these guys are looking at this as an opportunity. And to your point, maybe not the all-NBA caliber stars, but there is a tremendous amount of talent on that U.S. national team.
Big moment for that man, Greg Popovich. This is, albeit an exhibition and basically a scrimmage here for his team, but this is the first time he is coaching on the sideline as the head coach of the U.S. senior men's national team after
and
taking
you see
over
how excited he is,
Mike
right?
Krzyzewski. I know you can see it on his face, right?
Ready to go. He cannot wait to get this whole process started here. And for the fans, listen, it is a process. I mean, you think about it, they've been together now for a while. They're heading over to Australia next week.
They'll be in L.A. first.
L.A. first, then Australia before they get to China. So it is a tremendous commitment for these guys, having already played a full NBA season, and for some of them having gone into the postseason.
It's a huge time commitment, and that may be a factor in terms of some of those A-listers dropping out late. It also butts up against NBA training camps. By the time it's all said and done, the U.S. will be expected to be contending for a medal. Certainly, if they're playing that gold medal game, a lot of these guys will have to turn around and go right to camp with their pro teams. Blue and white, the senior men's national team is wearing blue. The U.S. select team in white. There's Donovan Mitchell. Over to Kemba Walker. He'll take the first shot of the evening, and it's in and out.
And this select team, they had a scrimmage. Oh, strong move there by Jalen Brunson. Cleared out some space and able to knock that jumper down. But they had a lot of success in the last scrimmage that these two teams had. They kind of handed it to the national team there.
Select team has beaten the national team a couple of times in scrimmages this week, getting their attention. Jaren Jackson Jr. has it for the select team, down to Marvin Bagley III, who's been one of the standouts this week here in Las Vegas.
And listen, you could make the argument that young man has done enough to be given some serious consideration for the national team. I mean, he is a load in terms of his physical ability and a tremendous player on the glass, just getting better and impressive in terms of what he's been able to do in his short tenure here in the NBA.
First team All-Rookie last season, only started 4 times in his 62 games with the Sacramento Kings, who are well represented in this national program. De'Aaron Fox was promoted early on in the process to the senior men's national team. Bagley is there as well.
I feel like De'Aaron Fox is going to make the team. I mean, he has been as impressive as any guard here. And you think about the versatility. He can play really 3 positions, depending on if you want to go small. He's got tremendous speed. He can get after defensively, improving jump shots. So those are all the traits that Greg Popovich is looking for.
Jaylen Brown in the post off the fadeaway. It won't fall. Bagley has it for the select team. Of course, Harrison Barnes, another Sacramento King. One of the few players on this roster who has senior men's national team experience, a gold medal winner back in 2016. Kemba to the rim.
Great hesitation there, and really able to just freeze the defense enough to elevate for that finger roll.
Jalen Brunson coming off his rookie season with the Dallas Mavericks after an incredible career for Jay Wright, who was on Greg Popovich's staff. Bagley goes to his right and beats Miles Turner for the bucket.
And you didn't see a lot of him getting opportunities to be a scorer. Did a lot of his work with his energy and activity, and that's going to be an area where, a lot of times young, talented players aren't terrific scorers, but he projects to be a guy that I think is going to be a really good frontline scorer. Jaylen Brown there slipped, trying to ward off Jalen Brunson, and turns it over.
Bagley is Bagley is more skilled offensively than Kenneth Faried, but he could fill that role that Faried filled back in 2014, where he basically freelanced a little bit, crashed the boards a lot, and wreaked havoc.
Yeah, listen, Marvin Bagley's got a chance to be a star in this league, and you're right. I mean, the beauty of his game is that you don't have to run a lot of offense for him. He's going to be incredible on the glass. I think he's going to ultimately become a good shot blocker. As Miles Turner there with the rejection, but he's going to get called for the foul. So I just feel like the sky's the limit for him. And for this young man, Jaren Jackson Jr. heading to the line, who had his rookie season cut short at Memphis, but showed tremendous promise there early on.
Turner led the NBA in blocked shots per game, but called for the foul there against Jackson, who played just 58 games, as you mentioned a moment ago, for the Memphis Grizzlies before they effectively shut him down. Former Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. And the White with the early 8-2 lead, so continuation of some of what happened during the week.
Yeah.
One of the coaches told me that it was a lot of the more veteran guys who came in needing to get themselves into shape here in Las Vegas. It wasn't so much the select guys.
Yeah, which in today's game, you find sometimes to be a little surprising, because guys are much more into working out year-round to maintain a certain level of fitness, but wasn't the case with this group.
They go down low to Bagley. Leaves it for Jonathan Isaac and can't connect. Tapped out, Brunson has it. He'll try the 3 for the select team. Bagley crashing the boards again, keeps it alive, and Isaac finishes off the play. Good hustle from Team Select.
Great hustle in this group right now for Team USA, the Blue Squad. They don't really have great rebounders defensively out there, and the Select team taking advantage on that offensive glass.
Chris Middleton, who cashed in this summer with a big free agent contract to stay in Milwaukee, off with the 3, and the White team maintains an early 6-point lead. Brunson turns the corner. Down low to Jackson, couldn't handle it as Turner got a hand in there. Jonathan Isaac called for the foul as he went for the steal.
When you watch Bagley here with the miss, and then Jackson Jonathan Isaac, they're attacking that offensive line. He's another young guy that I think has the potential to be the best player for the Magic in the next go. He has a boatload of talent, great feel for the game. Good find there from Middleton, forcing the foul on that alley-oop.
Brown was up there, and Jaren Jackson Jr. was able to disrupt the play, but the foul is called, and Jaylen Brown goes to the free throw line. One of the 4 Celtics potentially on this roster. Marcus Smart is hurt tonight and will not play. He'll be reevaluated next week because of a calf injury.
I'm still getting used to Kemba being a Celtic.
Yeah.
You know, when you said 4, I was like, wait a minute. 4?
Yep.
Yeah, right. Kemba's a Celtic now.
So they all got together on Sunday for dinner here in Las Vegas. And the crazy thing is that Jason Tatum wound up picking up the check.
Well, he's the youngest. Yeah, he's still technically, I mean, he's obviously not a rookie anymore, but, you know, he can use some of that USA basketball per diem.
I guess Kemba Walker technically hasn't picked up a Celtic check yet.
No.
Hasn't cashed in on some of that money yet, but Mitchell for 3 from Kemba, and he got it.
That's really good basketball there. Great movement without it by Mitchell, and great recognition from Kemba. And that's another area where this team still trying to figure it out. The chemistry not quite there, and it's tough. You know, a lot of these guys don't have a lot of experience playing with one another. System completely different maybe from what they're used to on their own respective teams.
Turner knocks down the free throw line jumper. And the blue team takes a lead. Senior men's national team 11-10. They were just going to divide up the 2 squads, not randomly, but mix them up and have a blue-white game where they just played each other. And now it's more divided between the national team and the select team. It's the way they landed here tonight.
And I think that's smart because, again, you want guys to get familiar with one another and get more comfortable trying to figure out what their identity is going to be individually in terms of how they fit on this team. And the fact they're still going through the evaluation process and trying to make the final cut.
Brown puts it on the deck. May have traveled, did travel. This is a turnover for Team Blue. We'll take a timeout. Good start for both sides. White up by 1 over Blue.
We're back in Las Vegas as Team Blue takes on Team White, and I'm here with Kyle Lowry, and after such a long stretch of seeing you every single day, it feels like it's been a while.
It's been a long time, but it was worth it.
It's still been less than 2 months since you helped lead the Toronto Raptors to an NBA championship. How has that experience impacted this one?
Well, I think it's just more so the leadership that I can bring to this team, and in 2016, us getting that gold medal. So, you know, with us winning a championship and knowing how to stay level-headed no matter what, ups and downs, bad calls, you know, I think that's the one thing that I can always bring to the team.
You told me during the postseason that your injury was one that simply wasn't going to get better until the offseason. What has that process been like, and how are you physically feeling now?
Well, I took a little while to get the surgery, so I got the surgery now. You know, I get to go see my doctor on Monday, and hopefully she gives me some good news. But I had to get it taken care of, and now it's finally taken care of. It feels better, but I've been in Splint for now 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks, so we'll see what Dr. Carlson says.
What about this opportunity to represent Team USA has kept you so committed despite this rehabilitation process?
Because we're not just playing for us, we're playing for our country. And, you know, all us Americans, you know, we're proud to, you know, represent our country at the highest level. And, you know, we know the world wants to always, you know, beat us in this level. And I think the sport world, that we got to keep our dominance, and that's why I want to stay committed to it.
You have the opportunity now because you are what I hate to call you the older veteran.
It's okay. Veteran's better. Veteran's older. Better sounds better.
Surrounded by so many young players, and you said it yourself, you do have the opportunity to bring a level of leadership here. What is it that you would want to say to those younger guys?
You know what? I think just to understand that every single night that we have to sacrifice. You know, this is not your team where you're shooting 20 times. You're playing 38 minutes a game. You're playing a 40-minute game. You have to go out and give everything you can for the 8 minutes you can, or the 10 minutes that you're getting, and be able to just sacrifice. And that's the one thing that, you know, these guys got to understand, that you're not going to be the man. You just got to sacrifice and do whatever it takes to be a team and come together and play for your country and play for each other.
You do that well, and it's great to see you post-champagne shower.
You know, I still got a little bit of a smell on me, but it's all right.
I'll let you get back to the bench.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's Kyle, guys.
That's an odor you don't necessarily want to fade, right? After a championship, the champagne smell. At least a hint.
Your
just a
friends
little
might
hint of
want it to fade.
Yeah, that's all right.
You might want to keep it
As
on.
a champion, you can savor it, though.
Yeah, no, what a tremendous season and experience for Kyle, having won that world championship. And how about his performance in that 6th game? You can see the splint there on that thumb. Hopefully he's going to be able to get cleared and be able to participate, because he would be a welcome addition to this group.
Won a gold medal in Rio in 2016. He had surgery in mid-July on a torn tendon in his left thumb. He suffered that injury back in the Eastern Conference semifinals, and said through the finals basically couldn't feel the thumb.
I think I did that game, and it was scary at the time, because obviously with those kinds of injuries, that could derail you. But man, he is a tough guy, tough competitor, fought through it, and arguably had his best game of the postseason when it mattered most in that closeout game against the Warriors.
Derek White with the floater. He is impressed this week in Las Vegas. Had a coach tell me he thought he was the best guard here this week.
He's been terrific, and he's you love about him is the versatility. He can make open shots, as De'Aaron Fox there gets a nice little roll. Solid defensively, and again, he can play multiple positions. And knowing Pop's system already, I think that does give him a decided advantage.
Had a breakout postseason in that series against the Denver Nuggets. Here's Kuzma coming back the other way, goes to the half hook, nearly got it to fall, and Torrey Craig comes down with it. 4-team select. Pat Connaughton now. Crossover and finishes with the right hand on the left side. Pat Connaughton on the board now.
And how about Pat Connaughton? Had a terrific season for Portland. Ends up making it all the way, from Milwaukee. Ends up losing in that bitter series against Toronto. But he had some solid moments for the group. They'll be a new look team. They'll have Lopez back, but Malcolm Brogdon no longer part of that roster, headed to Indiana.
Speaking of the Bucks, on cue, Brooke Lopez scores, and not only they'll have Lopez back, they'll have 2 Lopez's. Brooke and Robin. They've
played together since college.
They've got the whole set. Josh Collins now. That's a kickball off Lopez.
I wonder if they're going to live together.
I don't know. There's some legendary stories about Lopez battles and scrimmages in one-on-one games, as you see Connaughton score for the select team.
Cross Joe Harris up on that
yes,
one,
he did.
didn't he?
Yes, he did. Joe's not out here for defense necessarily.
No, we saw that. He definitely can shoot it with the best of them, though, and that's going to be his calling card. But having said that, even though they need the shooting, you can't become a liability defensively. He's going to have to be able to not be a negative player on that side of the floor.
There's Fox with the steal and the finish. De'Aaron Fox, as well as Joe Harris, both promoted early on in the process from the select team to the senior national team. It'll be interesting to see if they both wind up making the trip not only to China, but first to Australia. They're going to go to LA next week. They're going to have camp there. Exhibition next Friday night on NBA TV as John Collins finishes. And then they've got some tough decisions to make, because they probably don't want to take players over to Australia who are not going to make the trip to China.
Yeah, that's not an hour flight.
No,
that's for sure.
No, that's a long
trip.
Sad flight back from Australia if you get cut.
Especially if you went for a day or two. I'm sure that they have thought that process out.
And it will be interesting to see if Harris can wind up making that final squad as a floor spacer. Maybe not a coincidence he's wearing 47, because that's what he shot from three-point range last season to lead the NBA. And he's the only player in the top 25 in the NBA at three-point shooting on this roster.
Yeah, and you know what? Knowing Pop, he'd probably be happy if he shot 42. He wouldn't be greedy.
Jason Tatum shot it great the last couple of days.
That's 2 threes he's knocked down here in the early going. And what I like about it is something you didn't see as much of with the Celtics, catching and shooting. He's so really, I think, reliant on at times just catching it and having to put it down to create his rhythm. Now able to do it off the catch. That's going to make him even more difficult to defend.
White off the back rim. Can Fox win the battle? He does. And he'll finish it off. 2-on-1, takes it himself. And Team Blue now with a 27-20 lead. Just to remind you, Team Blue is the senior men's national team. Team White is the U.S. select team. And Derek White handles it for Team White. And loses it.
Yeah, well, the impact that De'Aaron Fox has had. That's another steal there. He's gotten to the loose ball. He's been terrific.
Fox with 8 points. He's been a factor here early on, 4 of 4 shooting. And Team Blue has taken an 11-point lead back with the second quarter after this. Back in Las Vegas for the Blue-White game here on NBA TV, presented by Nike. Good to have you with us. 29-20, the U.S. Senior Men's National Team leads Team Select here after one quarter. We're joined by the Managing Director of USA Basketball, Jerry Colangelo. Good to see you as always.
Nice to be with both of you.
I just call him the Godfather of USA Basketball.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
That's apt as well.
Well, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, you're here at the beginning of this journey, and it really
Yes.
is a journey because you've been through this a bunch of times before with both the World Championships and Olympic teams. Describe to folks at home the time commitment that you and the staff and the players have to give to get through this process through mid-September in China.
Yes, it's a pretty demanding schedule when you think about it. First of all, the week here in Las Vegas, we'll break for a few days, go to Los Angeles, practice 3 days, play against Spain before we depart for Australia. 10 days, 3 games, a lot of practice, and then we finally get to China, and the games really count.
Amazing. We were talking to Greg Popovich yesterday about what he prioritizes as he tries to pare down this roster to 12. In your mind, if you're looking at certain qualities, what's most important to you for the FIBA game in particular and based on the personnel you have right now?
You know, you always start with character. You want good people. Let's start with that. And then you deal with the cards you're dealt. You know, you look at your talent. What are the assets we have? How can we win? What players can come together to help each other give us the best chance to win? So what do we have? We have athleticism. We have youth. We'll use our depth. We could do that. I think there'll be adequate shooting. The question is on the bigs, are we going to be able to compete against certain countries who have legitimate bigs? And so that's one of our challenges. And there's not much separation between a number of players, which means they're all good. And so we argue every day, you know, in terms of roster, but we don't have to make a decision until 48 hours before the first game in China. We don't have to cut down, so we're going to take our time.
You know, talk a little bit, Jerry.
Yeah.
You've been with this process forever, it seems like. But
sometimes it does seem.
Yeah, but the evolution of the game, how it's changed so much from, you know, in the 90s and now how the court's gotten so much bigger because of the implementation of the three-point shooting.
Well, the three-pointer changed the game, obviously, in a huge way. And you both recall that in the early 2000s, we changed a number of rules in the NBA, which changed the game for the better. Scoring was down. We had isolation basketball. We had defensive guidelines no one truly understood. The little guy had a tough time in the paint. He just couldn't get anywhere. So we speeded up the game. We cleaned up the game. We did away with everything but legitimatizing the zone defense, everything but that. And the scores got better. The little guy was back in the game. It changed the game. And I think the game is in pretty good shape. We can continue to tweak it, but it's a pretty darn good game.
Jerry, you know the storyline that's led into this camp, of course, is a lot of the A-list guys dropping out of consideration.
Right.
They all have individual reasons.
Sure.
As you've had conversations with them, perhaps their agents as well.
Right.
What are the reasons, first and foremost, for across the board, if there are any, that have led them to decide not to compete this year?
You know, there's a whole list of reasons, and honestly, it doesn't matter that much at this point. You look at what you have, what you don't, not who's not here, it's who's here. But think about the fact that 19 and 20 are back-to-back competitions.
Yeah.
There's 2 NBA seasons involved in that whole mix, too. So it's a lot of strain. And if the format stays as it is, and I'm referring to the FIBA format, with back-to-back competitions, we could very well end up with the World Cup being for 21, 22-year-olds. That could be. And that could be their training ground to try to make the Olympic team.
It's amazing. Let's talk a little bit also. You wear a lot of hats. You're very involved with the Hall of Fame as well. And We've had some great conversations about that. And the one thing that doesn't get enough credit, you were the person that emphasized the importance of defense. And you made that a priority, one of the criteria when you were evaluating some of our great players. And I was so happy to hear that, because we've had some tremendously talented guys that were overlooked because they were more defensive oriented. And you made that a priority in terms of the selection committee and for getting guys nominated to the Hall.
You know, normally when you get to be my age, it's hard to come up with good ideas. But on that flight, it all came to me all of a sudden, like, we're just not giving enough credit to the guys who are in the trenches, you know, defensively. And as it turns out, we have a couple guys who are going to be inducted this year for that very reason. And that makes me feel good.
That's awesome.
As you transition with these guys from their NBA approaches to basketball to the FIBA game, which, you know, there's some rule changes, obviously. There's also a different level of physicality. What are the biggest adjustments that you've seen players go through this over and over again? What are the biggest adjustments for these guys as they learn or relearn the FIBA game?
You just said it. Physicality is a big thing, but also the use of hands. You cannot use your hands defensively. It's kind of a contradiction because of the physicality, but for example, Steph Curry, every game that he played for us for USA Basketball, he picked up 2 fouls in the first 2 or 3 minutes every time because he was reaching. So one of the things that was emphasized this week is you can't reach. You just can't. You have to play James Harden defense. Hands up. Don't reach. That's one thing.
Talking to Pop yesterday, he said he had to learn how to teach illegal screens because by NBA rules, the screens that are allowed are not legal in the NBA, but they are in the FIBA game.
That's true.
Jerry, great to have you with us.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
luck.
Thank
Safe
you.
travels to you
See
as
you
well.
along the way. Okay.
All right. Jerry Colangelo with us. It's 36-22, the senior men's national team on top here in the second quarter.
USA Basketball on NBA TV is brought to you by Nike.
Welcome back to Las Vegas, T-Mobile Arena, the blue-white game here on NBA TV. The senior men's national team has a 14-point lead on the select team. Good to have Jerry Colangelo, the godfather, as you put it, of USA Basketball, stopping by. He has seen a lot of hoops.
And you know what I love about Jerry, and you don't always get to get a jump ball there. As a more mature gentleman, he's still really progressive about the game and understanding how it has to continue to evolve and grow. And what a heck of a job he's done with, you know, USA Basketball. Because there was a time there where USA Basketball was not at the level that we had always been accustomed to, and really good to see it back at that level. Is Donovan Mitchell there? I don't know if he called glass on that one, but we're going to give it to him.
Well, there were a couple of, frankly, embarrassing results for USA Basketball. The 2002 World Championship, as it was called back then, when the USA finished 6th, which was just hard to understand. And then 2 years later, the 2004 Olympics in Greece, when the U.S. lost to that great Argentina team, and all credit to them. They were fantastic. And took home a bronze medal, which for most countries seems just fine. But for the United States, that is not acceptable. And that's when Jerry Colangelo got involved, brought in Mike Krzyzewski. Coach K went 88-1, the senior men's national team, which is a solid record.
Yeah, you could take that. That'll improve your win percentage.
And the big change, as you know, was there was a time when the U.S. would basically call on its stars one by one and kind of go down the pecking order and say, you want to play? Would you like to play? Next. And since then, there's been more emphasis on putting real teams together.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important element of that. Listen, it's a twofold dilemma or a situation in essence. When you think about the rest of the world after the Dream Team, they were inspired by the game. And they elevated. And that's why we have so many incredible talents in the NBA from the international ranks. And it also forced us to get rid of the complacency and say, hey, you're right. We got to start putting teams together, not just talented players, guys that fit, guys that can do the variety of things that the international game called for. And it's been wonderful to watch. And I'm excited about this group because there is some uncertainty. You don't have that star power that we've grown accustomed to seeing here since Jerry's been in charge of USA Basketball. But And it's going to give us an idea of how much our depth has grown because of this roster. Not one that, you'd probably have maybe, you could argue there might not be one guy on the team that's going to be representing us at the World Cup.
It's, the Olympics, you mean next year?
At the Olympics next year, I'm sorry.
No, it's very possible you won't have any carryover from year to year. And by the way, the rest of the world's not feeling sorry for the U.S. because some of these, MVP, multiple all-star types have declined to play this year. The U.S. will still be the only team in the tournament with a roster full of just NBA players, for one. And secondly, we've had our share of wins, right? The rest of the world would love to get a piece of that. But the World Cup has not been as successful for the U.S. over the years as the Olympics. There have been 17 World Championships / World Cups. The U.S. has won 5 gold medals. Yugoslavia, which is a country that hasn't existed since, I believe, 1992, also has 5. So the U.S. is not even the clear leader in terms of gold medals in that competition. Senior men's national team with a good start here in a 19-point lead. Time for a look at USA Basketball's upcoming schedule presented by Nike. A week from tonight, you'll see the U.S. against the number 2 ranked team in the world, Spain. That game from Anaheim. And then the team heads to Australia for a pair of exhibitions against the Aussies and one against Canada before they head to China for the World Cup proper. Game 1, September 1st against the Czech Republic and Thomas Satoransky. Always interesting to see the NBA guys playing for their national squads.
And they tend to play with more confidence, because their role tends to be a little bit more significant.
Yep.
The familiarity as well, so that'll be a lot of fun.
All those games, by the way, on NBA TV up until the World Cup. All those exhibition games. Aussies are a great test for any team. Big, rugged bigs in Andrew Bogut, Aaron Baines, Matthew Dellavedova.
That's the Australian version of the Twin Towers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No Ben Simmons for Australia, but that's still...
That would have made it interesting.
It would have made it a little more interesting for sure.
I'd love to have seen, understand why, but that would have been pretty cool to see.
Reminder of some of the rules differences between the two. Shorter quarters, of course, 5 personal fouls allowed. Goaltending is the big one, I think, for most fans who aren't familiar with the international game. Once the ball hits the rim, it is in play. For an offensive player or a defensive player. I love this rule. I know the NBA will never go to this, but I love that the ball is live once it hits the rim.
I love it as well. It does create tremendous challenges because instinctively our guys aren't used to that.
Yeah.
And that's an area where oftentimes the international guys have a distinct advantage. Get an offensive foul there on an illegal screen.
Yep.
And that's enough. Speaking of illegal screens, that's an area where another big change. The screening that we typically would have called as being illegal, not the case in the international game.
Yeah.
You get a little bit more leeway with the ability to set screens.
Well, it's interesting, and I mentioned that Greg Popovich told us that yesterday. He's having to learn to teach what he considers illegal screens because they're allowed in the FIBA game.
He teaches them anyway. Don't let him fool you.
Well, he's teaching them publicly.
Yeah.
And admitting to it at least.
That is showing some range there.
Different basketball as well in the FIBA game. Not all the players love this version of it. As a smaller guy, at least compared to these guys, I like the ball.
You like it?
It's easier to grip to me.
That sometimes that is the issue. It in essence grips by itself, whereas you want to grip it with your hand.
Right.
It can stick sometimes, and it takes some getting used to. Reminds me back when the first time we actually went away from the leather basketballs.
Oh yeah,
it was an uproar.
Well.
We hated it, and they ended up having it. It didn't last long.
Till December, I think it was.
Before they changed it. That was almost a highlight.
Almost.
Not a big fella.
Jared Allen has had his share of highlights in the NBA, including some noteworthy blocks. Blocked a LeBron James dunk. Mm-hmm. That's only happened 9 times in James' career. Got James.
Where'd you get
Harden.
that stat? Did you come up with that stat?
I got a lot of stuff in front of me.
Yeah, Justin, get that for you.
No, I found that on my own.
Oh my goodness. What brought that to your attention? What
Anthony
made you
Davis.
think
I was
about
just
that?
thinking in his short time in the NBA, he's had some spectacular
Yes,
dunks
he
on
has.
people and blocks against star players. Anthony Davis is one of his victims. He got Joel Embiid with a dunk in the postseason. There's Tatum for 3.
Man,
Knocks
I love
down
this
another
part.
one.
Ooh, I tell you what a beautiful sight. If you're a Boston Celtic fan, you've got to be thrilled right now to watch the way Jason Tatum is making the game easy. Beautiful find. White there getting it down low to Collins.
John Collins from the Atlanta Hawks. His teammate Trae Young was here in Las Vegas but had an eye injury, minor eye injury, but that cut short his camp, so he's not with us here tonight.
And how about this is a perfect pass from White to get it up to Collins on the finish.
Obviously, Trae Young earned a lot of attention in his rookie season with the Hawks, but John Collins has really come on. He was their leading scorer and rebounder, improved his scoring average by 9 last season, nearly a 20-point game guy for the Hawks in his second year.
And in a lot of ways, I thought he would get more consideration for most improved. Just an incredible year. And I think also, let's give Trae Young some credit for that as well, because having the point guard play that he brought to the table, I think made the game a little easier for Collins.
So it's a great lob dunk combination, Young to Collins. There's Torrey Craig on the 3 on the other end. Select team down by 17. Here's White, offensive foul.
De'Aaron Fox is, in my mind, he's already made the team. I mean, he is such a difference maker on both ends of the floor. And I love the fact that his decision making has just gotten so much better, continuing to work on that jump shot. But defensively, he's a disruptor, physical, gets after it, and just a blur in the open floor.
Yeah, Pop says he shoots it, quote, well enough, and cited his incredible speed, his words, as one of the reasons he's here. And another thing you hear a lot about these guys this week, one of the things Greg Popovich said about Fox is he wants to be here. It's not a small thing, given what has happened over the last few weeks.
Well, to that point, this is looked at by these guys as an opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of them never thought they'd have an opportunity to represent USA basketball.
There's a minute 9 left of opportunity in this second quarter. We've got that when we come back. Back here in Las Vegas, here's a look at all those gold medals in recent years under Mike Krzyzewski, including the Beijing Olympics, the Redeem team won the FIBA World Championship in Turkey in 2010 with Kevin Durant setting all kinds of scoring records. Gold again at the London Olympics, then in Spain, the 2014 FIBA World Cup. First year they branded it as the World Cup, and then again in Brazil, the Rio Olympics, 8-0. That's a lot of zeros at the end of those records. And look at the point differentials. They're always lopsided for the U.S.
42-0 with a point differential of about 26.
Yeah.
That's, I guess that would be called dominant.
That is dominant, yeah.
And that domination will be put to a test. I mean, there's probably as much uncertainty about this team as we've had in USA basketball in a long time. So, not the experience, and some would argue, I don't think you could argue this, no doubt, it's not the talent, but I think that zest for the opportunity a lot of these guys have is going to pay big dividends for Team USA.
Other offensive foul. We've seen a number of those here in the first half. This one on Middleton. The select team will get it back with just under 50 seconds to go here in the second quarter. We'll get into some of the other contenders in the second half. They're out there and they're watching what's happening with this roster.
Yeah.
They're aware.
And that's another area of an advantage probably for a team like Spain. They're already set. They know what they're going to have. There's Fox again.
You pretty much see the same guys every time you see Team Spain for about the last 15 years. In fact, they're probably on their last leg as a group, this particular group. Pau Gasol is no longer part of this team. Marc Gasol's still there with the Spanish team. Derek White with the shot clock off has it for the select team.
Well, I like the response that the national team, the blue team, has made after being embarrassed a little bit, I'd have to say, by the select team. They've come out here after a slow start, and they have been really good defensively, terrific in terms of their passing as well and ability to shoot the three.
1.2 to go. Collins got a hand on it, it goes out of bounds, and the first half comes to a close. U.S. senior national team imposed its will after that rocky first few minutes, and they take a 17-point lead to the half. 3 threes by that guy, Jason Tatum.
How about they shot 7 of 14 from three, 50%, and more impressively, how about only 6% from three for the select team, 1 of 15. So the three-point line so prevalent in international and the NBA for that matter. They dominated that and thusly dominating the game.
Let's send it over to Kristen. She's got Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan, we've talked often in game, but you're usually playing alongside teammates that you practice with every week, every month, now for years. This is new. So what impressed you most about the first half?
I think, the guys all coming together. Obviously we all have our own roles with our own team, but this is about making sacrifices and playing for the USA. And, I think a lot of guys being competitive, bring that competitive spirit, listening to Pop. Pop's been great. We've been great on defensive end. He's got to get some rebounds. We'll be good.
Now that you've played at the highest level for several years, what do you see as the key components to building that fluidity so quickly?
For myself or for the team?
For the team.
I think a lot of guys, like I said, having a good IQ of the game, understanding, what shots you may get, what you need to do defensively, and I think that's what's going to really take guys and take this team to the next level.
Good luck in the second half, Donovan.
So much.
Guys.
Hi, Kristen. Thank you so much. Senior men's national team leads it 51-34 at the half. Halftime coming up here from Las Vegas as we continue on a Friday night. After a slow start, the U.S. senior men's national team took control here in the blue-white game, and they lead at 51-34 as we get set to start the third quarter here in Las Vegas. Here are the FIBA World Rankings as things stand. Spain, number 2, always a power. Serbia is one of the teams to watch for sure, ranked number 4 in the world, but they were the silver medalists both in the Olympic Games in 2016 and at the World Cup back in 2014. And we've got a Hall of Famer here with us courtside, so I'll ask Chris Mullen to explain that point system to everybody. You know how that works, right?
Well, we just got to score more points when we get to China. That's going to be the main goal.
That's the easy points. I thought you could explain the FIBA point system for the rankings there.
No, it's too complicated.
You played, two-time gold medalist, I should mention. You played on the most famous team in basketball history. What do you make of the storyline leading up to this week that this is a team without a lot of stars on it, and what that means for the U.S. moving forward?
Yeah, totally different dynamic for going back the last 10, 15 years, and I talked to Coach Popovich yesterday. What they're going to have to really do, which I thought they did in the first half, is have their defense create a lot of offense, force turnovers, be distraction, and then offensively let that ball do the work. Popovich, they have a saying in San Antonio, Greg, from a good shot to a great shot. Right. So it's really going to be important to have a nice high assist total and get those turnovers down.
And talk a little bit about, you talked about, you've had the experience, the adjustment it is to go from your system, your position of comfort, to now where you're playing with a lot of guys. You not only learn a new system, but sometimes you end up with a new role and have to be, you're asked to do some things that maybe aren't your strengths, but you have to make that sacrifice in order for the good of the team.
Well, I think, Greg, that's a great point, because when you have the star players, the roles are already defined, right? So this is a young group. I think it's good that they have all this preparation time to let that thing play out. Just watching a few practices, I think what's going to be really important, too, is a guy like Donovan Mitchell being able to score the ball but also play some point guard, be a distributor as well. Kemba Walker's going to have to get in there, force tempo, get out there and score the ball. And at some point, depending on who they're playing, those bigs, I think they're going to be more of a, rim runners, roll to the rim, put pressure on the rim, and open up the three-point shot. Because international play, the three-point shot's going to be a big weapon.
Absolutely. We were talking to Greg Popovich yesterday, and it's interesting to me that they're already thinking about potential opponents in terms of who's going to wind up making this squad, and they're thinking about Serbia, and they're thinking about Spain and France and those other heavy hitters. That means they're thinking about Nikola Jokic and they're thinking about Marc Gasol. So they have to consider what bigs and what types of bigs they want to keep on this roster.
So I think from that standpoint, you talk about Jokic, you know, they can run the offense through him. So you've got to defend him all the way out to the three, control him in the post. So be physical enough, and then also maintain your offensive production.
Yeah, and you would also think with a guy like Jokic, you want to attack him offensively as well, because he's going to be such an integral part of what they do. And that's a great point. The advantage in some respects, Chris, that we have as USA is all those teams are already set. Like, they already know their complete roster. They know what their tendencies and skills. We're still in that process, which in some respects might benefit Team USA from a preparation standpoint from their opponents.
Well, I think the scouting they've been doing, I talked to Jeff Van Gundy as well. They've really been watching a lot of film to not only to select the team, but also how they're going to play. I think you're going to see a lot of, you know, different game plans as it goes, you know, on each opponent. They're not going to play the same way, but I think they're going to have a versatile roster where if they play small, but they're still big enough to rebound, play defense in the post, and then maybe expose them, like you said, put Jokic in the high pick and rolls or trail, maybe play a Kuzma at a trail 5, right, and put pressure on him to defend.
You know, most of this is basketball, right? You've been playing basketball your whole life. Either you go to the gym, you roll out the ball, you play, but there are differences in the FIBA game. What do you notice first and foremost when you're transitioning from your NBA team to FIBA competition? What are the things that potentially trip you up or you have to adjust to?
Well, I think over time it's gotten closer. So I can go way back to 1984, which unfortunately is a fact. So I can't deny that. You can look that up. But back then, the biggest that we used to go over the rules a lot, and it was where the referee didn't touch the ball. That was a big concern of ours, where they take it right out and score quick layups. I think now probably the biggest difference, Greg and Matt, is the physicality. I think they're more physical internationally. And the other thing we have to be careful for and be ready for and prepare for is they're going to show a zone. It's something we saw a little bit in the finals with Toronto. As Golden State got a little depleted, they went to a little box and one look, but I think teams, if they feel like they can't match us athletically, they'll slow the game down.
And that's most of the world.
And go to a zone and try and pack the paint and force us. That's where the three-point shot's going to come in, whether it be Middleton, Joe Harris, whoever makes this team, they're going to need guys that can knock down threes.
And not only a zone, but a zone without restrictions. There's no defensive 3 seconds. You can do whatever you want defensively.
No, he's going to be sitting right there at the restricted area with his hands up and basically dare you to shoot and make threes.
And that's why, to your earlier point, I think our defensive versatility and ability to speed games up is going to be critical. Like, if you can force turnovers and play with the lead, it makes it harder for you. That zone is about disrupting rhythm. And if they get up, now that's a big concern, because even though we've got some guys that can shoot the three, we're not necessarily a three-point shooting team as what we're used to seeing in an international competition. This is, you know, we got a couple guys obviously can do it, Chris, but that's not necessarily the strength of this group.
Well, I think going in, we don't have that guy that if we're down 10, KD is going to come in, knock down 8 threes in a quarter, or Clay or Carmelo, guys that have done that in the past. Like you said, Greg, we want to play with the lead, but also really disrupt their offense, because historically those European teams, they play together much longer than we do, so we're just getting together now. So they know each other. They're going to run crisp offense. But if you can get in there and really get into their ball handlers and make it tough, I think that's going to be a staple of their defense. And then offensive, really old school ball movement, man movement, kind of like San Antonio plays. You know, like we mentioned earlier, from good to great.
Right. Hold it for a half second, get rid of it, do something with it. Yeah, that's their rule. You said something in the middle of that leads me to my next question/point, and that's about the chemistry that so many of these national teams have, having grown up together. And the team that always comes to mind was that 04 Argentina team that just played like they were of one mind. It's amazing. And that's something Greg Popovich said to us yesterday, is maybe the biggest adjustment is that if you're not ready to go in the opening minutes in a shorter game, these teams will execute you to death because they know their stuff like the back of their hands.
And that comes, like you talk about chemistry, and also the club mentality over there, where they play a certain style and they may go to their teams, but they really enjoy getting back together in the summer and showing that this is the way we play. And then they'll break back up. You know, Serbia's been like that for years. You played internationally. They move the ball, they share it, and they just know where each other are, because they've been playing since they were kids together.
Well, it looks like the blue team hasn't been as good here offensively in this third quarter, but still sustaining that lead. And have any of the guys that you watched a little bit of the practice, anybody come away that just really impressed you? As I was talking with Steve Kerr, and the first thing he said, he's like, Donovan Mitchell's been incredible.
Well, that didn't surprise me because he's been pretty incredible throughout his his short NBA career. But what was really impressive to me was, especially yesterday, he played a lot of point guard, and he was just creating for his teammates. It was just beautiful to watch. We know he can score, he can bang threes, play above the rim, and defensively, he's a really physical defender. But I was really impressed. I thought that's a key piece for them, being able to throw him at the point guard position and create. Maybe have Kemba play off the ball a little bit and bang threes.
It'll be an interesting guard combination in that just projecting, it seems like the most likely pairing to start for Team USA would be Kemba Walker and Donovan Mitchell.
And you talk about the shorter game, Greg, too. If you get a nice lead, maybe you want to go to a bigger, more physical, defensive-minded lineup. And with that, you're not going to lose scoring with Donovan Mitchell playing the one.
Middleton couldn't connect on the reverse, and back comes the U.S. select team.
Now, what are you doing with your time now, since you're not coaching right now?
Enjoying it.
Enjoying life a little bit, huh?
Yeah, I had a great
That's a good answer.
Great 4-year run back at my alma mater, St. John's. If I would have got a guy like Cole Anthony, maybe it'd still be there.
Man. We were waiting on the call.
But it was a good run. I'm glad that it went well. Just trying to do something else. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but enjoy my time off and probably get back into the NBA situation.
When you think about, Matt, this guy, one of the most decorated international performers USA basketball has ever had.
Absolutely.
I mean, no doubt about it. And I still remember growing up as a kid. I'm a little younger than Chris is. Nice pass there. But watching, that's when college basketball really took off. When the Big East came
the Big East and
those teams. That was an incredible
run. You guys took it to another level, UNLV, because that was an NBA team.
Yeah,
that
was a lot of fun.
That was great to watch.
We've been blessed, brother.
Absolutely.
Molly, great to see you.
Man, my pleasure.
Appreciate it. Chris Small, the Hall of Famer, with us here on NBA TV. The Blue leads it by 18 midway through the third.
We're back in Vegas. We're being joined by Dr. Riley Williams, HSS primary care sports physician and USA basketball team physician from the Hospital for Special Surgery. HSS serves as the official hospital and doctors of USA basketball and brings best-in-class care to the men's national basketball team. Dr. Williams, we hear that term often, sports physician, but what is your relationship with this USA basketball organization?
Well, one small correction. I'm an orthopedic surgeon, not a primary care physician.
That's a big difference, actually.
But anyway, so the Hospital for Special Surgeries partner up with USA Basketball. There are two orthopedic surgeons, myself and Dr. Answorth Allen. I work with the Nets. He works with the Knicks, and then Lisa Callahan is our colleague. She's primary care sports medicine. And basically, we provide a comprehensive sports medicine services for the team. So even though I'm an orthopedic surgeon in life, I'm like the doctor for the whole crew. Yeah, so someone's kid, pediatrics, primary care, someone has sniffles, they come and talk to me.
So you are a little bit of everything, but this is...
I am a doctor.
Yeah, fair. I'm not. This, though, is a very demanding schedule. Practices, travel, exhibition games. What's your primary focus in just keeping this team healthy?
Well, when you travel, it's really my responsibility to mimic and to make sure they have the resources around the games and the travel kind of itinerary that they would have as part of a regular NBA team. So remember, it's basically patchwork players from all over the league, and they don't have the same infrastructure in China, in Australia, in terms of policies and protocols. So it's up to us as the medical sort of directors to make sure we know where the EMTs are. We have a partnership with the local hospitals, and that we have the services on the ground just in case something happens. And that's really our main role.
And because USA Basketball brings so many of these players together quickly, not only the players, but the coaches, the trainers, your staff, what's the key to establishing communication and trust so early on?
Well, we coordinate with the management staff of the USAB. We know the itinerary for all travel schedules well in advance, and we basically have boots on the ground and partnerships set up even before we get there. So all I have to do is get here, confirm who's who, and then we just keep rolling.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I'll let you get back to the bench. The do-it-all doctor. Can I just call you that?
Yes.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Guys.
That might actually stick with Dr. Williams.
Yeah.
The do-it-all doctor. That could be on his card or maybe on a billboard somewhere. Not that he needs the business
You know
necessarily.
what? Kristen might want to get a percentage of that because she came up with it. So.
You know what? They may be negotiating as we speak.
Not to file that
Somebody's
patent.
agent is on the line. A little bit of a slower start here to the third quarter. And by the way, I was going to make the point, Dr. Williams is also part of the continuity that USA Basketball has established under Jerry Colangelo. I've talked to him 2 or 3 times during the mini camp shows we've done going back to the World Cup in 14 and the Olympics in 16. He's been around a while as well. And it's all part of the philosophy of a program, a comprehensive program they've built.
Yeah, to your point, you think of, you got the national team, but you have a lot of select teams, the under 19, under 18, and they basically all try to emulate what we're doing on with the national team, which gives you that continuity, not just in terms of medical staff and everything else, but preparation, approach, philosophy, all those things. And I think that's one reason why we've gotten back to that world dominance that we had for so long. And as a USA fan, obviously it's a lot of fun to watch.
PJ Tucker with a 3, and so the senior team is now 9 of 17 from the three-point line. Perhaps allaying concerns about their outside shooting, at least for the night. Mitchell makes it 50%, now 9 of 18 for Team Blue.
If they shoot anywhere near, how about that block?
Great defense. Tatum to Mitchell. And an awkward finish. It wouldn't fall for him. Torrey Craig brings it back for the select team. Torrey Craig, great story. Out of South Carolina upstate, played in Australia for 3 years before he made his way to the Denver Nuggets. Tatum and 1, count the bucket for Jason Tatum.
So Jason Tatum's been impressive in this game. He shot it initially well from the 3 off the catch and shown us some flashes defensively as well.
Former Duke star entering his 3rd NBA season from my hometown, St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis. I tell you, it's going to be interesting seeing that Celtic squad, the revamped Celtic squad. Al Horford gone, as well as obviously Kyrie Irving. And you would expect that Jason Tatum's role will expand this year.
Big year for him, big year for Jaylen Brown. And for Gordon Hayward, coming off the injury, you would expect him to be, based on the timeline of guys who have had severe injuries like that, you would expect more from him as Kemba Walker finishes at the rim. Speaking of Celtics. It's going to take a little while to get used to that.
I was thinking the same thing, man. He's been just the heart and soul of the Hornets for so long. It's going to be difficult getting used to seeing him in that Celtic ring. Not for the Celtic fans, though. I think they are excited to have him on board.
Hornets career scoring leader. He passed Del Curry on that list last season and now has 12. Leads all scorers. Tatum with a nifty finish. Going to the left hand, scoops it up and in. And we have a timeout. 13 now for Jason Tatum off the bench and a big senior national team lead.
Who are you?
I am failure.
Failure. I thought I defeated you.
Perhaps. But more success sows more doubt.
That doesn't concern me.
Your weakness should concern you.
I still remember how to beat you.
Basketball has been a game changer for me.
It's helped me grow as a teammate and a leader.
By establishing standards for youth development, USA Basketball is making a difference for players of all ages.
Through education and training,
they're helping to make the game safer
and more fun. Make sure your child is taught the right way.
Ensure you're the best coach you can be.
To learn more, visit usab.com or download the USA Basketball mobile app.
Time for the best play of the game, sponsored by AT&T. And Greg, we just saw it. Jason Tatum going to the rim through everybody.
My goodness, we've seen his ability to contort his body with the handle at 6'10" and the strength to finish there with the offhand. And we're used to seeing that. What we hadn't seen as much as what he did in that first half off that catch and shoot triple. So he is definitely expanding his game here early on in his NBA career.
He's been a better three-point shooter at the NBA level than he was in his sole season at Duke. And he has not played for the senior national team before. Maybe not a big surprise. He's only 21, but he does own gold medals at the under 19, under 17, and under 16 levels wearing the red, white, and blue.
So you're saying he's already got some jewels. He's got some hardware.
He's got some hardware at home. Got some gold. He's got some experience under his belt playing the FIBA game and succeeding at it.
We saw earlier his former college coach, Mike Krzyzewski, who used to head up Team USA in attendance here. I'm watching one of his former pupils.
Stopped by earlier this week as an advisor, basically, being around to answer any questions that Greg Popovich and the staff might have about how to go about this. It's amazing, read this week, that they had never met until 2015 when Pop was named his successor. Yeah. You just sort of assume that the basketball world, everybody knows everybody.
It's small. They knew of each other,
of course,
but they did not have that personal connection, which it was odd. I was shocked when I heard that as well. Two of the greatest basketball minds this game has ever seen, no doubt about it. And the other thing that's great, Pop, how excited he was to get this opportunity. You think about all he's accomplished at this stage of his career. And now at the helm is Kemba doing what Kemba does.
Kemba Walker heating up here. He's got 14 now for the senior team. And Greg Popovich's affinity for international basketball and his country obviously goes way back. Played for the Air Force Academy, served 5 years in the Air Force, during which he played for the Air Force team, which traveled around the world. Gained an appreciation for international basketball then, and then when he got his first NBA coaching job with the Spurs back in '88, under Larry Brown, he convinced Coach Brown to let him scout a European tournament, which people weren't doing back then. He said the only other NBA face he saw at this particular tournament was Don Nelson, who was there for Sharunas Marciulionis, who's kind of started the wave of European players coming to the NBA. And he saw those great Yugoslavian teams with guys like Drazen Petrovic and Vlade Divac on those squads. Tony Kukoc.
They had some great teams, Yugoslavia.
And he just fell in love with that style of game. And he's been a part of USA Basketball as an assistant and now as the senior men's national head coach.
And really, if you think about it, I think Pops is responsible as any coach in the NBA for how the game is played at our level now.
Absolutely.
He was the one of the first ones to really get away from the ISO and bringing in movement and spacing. And
embrace the corner three before most teams were doing that.
And now it's, kind of a foregone conclusion that's the way the game is played. But, he had a lot to do with it. And still showing that passion. You wonder how long will he continue to coach with all he's accomplished at this stage of his career.
Tatum's feeling it. That one rattled out. Pop's still widely regarded as the best coach in the NBA. 5 championships and the most wins with a single team in NBA history, more than 1,200 of them. Tatum nearly undercut by accident by Jalen Brunson. Otherwise, perhaps a spectacular finish off the pass from Harris.
That's a play there. Joe Harris, you got to just hold on one more count. You didn't force Brunson to commit to you, and that's
also could have just gotten a layup.
Yeah, the layup was wide open, but he'd already made up his mind he was going to throw the lob.
Tatum now 6 of 8 from the field, and with that free throw sitting on 16 points. Make it 17 and make it a 30-point lead for the senior men's national team.
And obviously, the select team, having lost De'Aaron Fox and Trae Young gone, a little bit more motivated group than they had seen before, maybe with the national team, but they have had their struggles to put the ball in the basket.
Brunson can't connect at the buzzer. And the blue team cruising on their way to Los Angeles and the next phase of their journey to the World Cup in China. They're shooting nearly 58% from the field, and it's a 30-point lead through 3.
To Las Vegas, it's Team Blue leads Team White here at the start of this fourth quarter. I'm here with Sam Perkins, and as a gold medalist, you're no stranger to the way that these exhibition games go, but you are arriving straight from Orlando and the Junior NBA experience. So first and foremost, I want to ask what stands out most to you about the way that the NBA has expanded from youth all the way up to the World Cup?
I mean, the NBA has grown so much globally, internationally as well, and all the grassroots programs that they've started has bloomed into or blossomed into like a program dedicated to youth, and the youth are taking very much advantage of it because basketball has been a vehicle for me. It's been a vehicle for a lot of things that help me open doors, and it has opened doors globally and more so here because kids are now attentive to fulfilling their dreams, and basketball, the NBA kids have allowed that to happen.
You told me you just got to Vegas. I mean, hours ago just got to Vegas. Why is it so important to you to not only be there for Junior NBA, but to be here for this scrimmage?
Well, first of all, it's been an innate thing with me. You know, people always telling you to give back and things of that nature. And I was very fortunate to have a career in the NBA as long as I had. And at that time, you're being, I guess, trained or somewhat open, exposed to a lot of different programs. And now that I'm still able to do that, to have some type of platform and have some type of recognition, I always give off court. And so with the Junior NBA, with this new stance, and USAB basketball with influx of new players, international players, I mean, it's you can't say no to it. So I've been doing it a great deal, and I enjoy the travel. And 2 o'clock means nothing to me, but it'll mean something to me when I hit that pillow tonight.
This U.S. men's national team, though, a lot younger than many expected this side of just a few weeks ago. So if you were to impart any wisdom in some of these younger players looking not only to make a name for themselves but to represent their country, what would it be?
Well, I was fortunate to do it when I was an amateur, and I was a young cat, too, at the same time. But these guys are more athletic, and, again, basketball has grown so much. I would tell them to take advantage of all the opportunities. If you have a chance to make a team and play for the USA and represent the country, by all means do it. I mean, I know there's some guys that say no to it and things of that nature, but these young guys, they get the exposure, and the more they play, the more opportunities they have to get even better. So, and a chance to have a rapport among the fans and the people that watch them both here and internationally. So. I give kudos to them and the coaches and the NBA for just allowing the other guys to have a second chance.
Sam, thank you for taking the time. In less than a quarter now, you can get some rest.
Nah, my eyes are still wide open, still wide shut.
All right, guys.
You NBA guys, though, you understand how to travel between time zones better than most humans.
Well, yeah, our travel schedule, if you think of all the major sports, and football is only going to travel once every other week in essence, half the season. Baseball, they're going to travel, but they're going to be where they're going oftentimes 3-4 days. We may be in 3 cities in 4 days, and obviously we typically leave right after, and you can be in 3 different time zones over the course of that as well. So it is a challenge, but it's, as you say, you adjust. It becomes a way of life.
Sam said he was fortunate to have as long a career as he did. He was also really, really good.
Yeah, Sam was a great player.
Close that mic. Is that mic open?
We're dunking. We're dominating. We're back with more here in the fourth after this.
Is brought to you by Nike.
Well, the U.S. will try to become the first team to three-peat at the World Cup level, World Championships prior, but They've already won the last 3 Olympic Games going back to 2008. The Redeem team, 2012 team in London, sported gold as well. And then 3 years ago in the Rio Olympics, another gold medal for Mike Krzyzewski and the red, white, and blue.
Those are some really good teams.
Really, really good teams.
Oh my goodness, the talent.
And we'll see what awaits this team in China at the World Cup. Talking to Pop yesterday, and he didn't really have an answer for this, and I don't either. Well, why is it that Americans, and when I say Americans, I mean fans as well as the players, seem to take the Olympics much more seriously than the World Championship, which I think the rest of the world looks at differently?
I think because we identify with the Olympics more.
But why is that?
Well, because the World Championships, first of all, it's just basketball.
Yeah.
And when for me growing up, I didn't think about the World Championship. The Olympics, I was aware of it, right?
Yeah,
you
but I'm
were
not
aware
sure
of
why.
it? Well, we didn't televise it. When we were kids, first of all, we didn't see much television.
No.
But we saw the
wasn't
Olympics.
much on.
No, it wasn't. There weren't many channels either, unfortunately. But, you know, the Olympics just is kind of like the cornerstone for sport internationally. And I just think that's takes priority. It's a part of our the cultural fabric of America. And I prefer it that way personally. I mean, the World Championships are obviously very important.
Yeah.
But it's just nothing like the Olympics.
No, it's clearly the case for just about everybody, fans and players. The rest of the world, in terms of basketball, I think they look at the World Cup maybe a little differently than we do. It's certainly true in soccer, where the World Cup is every bit as big as Olympic Games.
No doubt about it.
Kyle Kuzma giving the fans what they want. They've been saying Kuz for the better part of 10-15 minutes now every time he touches the ball, and he delivers.
Time he rewards the fan with that effort. Hadn't had his best game thus far, but this is a play that'll have the fans feeling a little bit better about one of the core guys for that new Laker nucleus. And boy, what an incredible offseason.
Unbelievable.
The schedule's going to be coming out pretty soon.
Next week.
Monday,
in fact,
and you know, I've heard of that. There are going to be a few Laker-Clipper games that are televised this year. I don't know if you were aware of that, Matt Weiner.
The games are going to be televised?
The Clippers and the Lakers game.
Oh, yes.
Against each other.
Oh, for sure.
They may end up making it on national.
Yeah, I'm going to guess all those are going to be on national TV. You'll see that schedule announced on NBA TV Monday at 3 Eastern time, by the way. I've been asked to plug. De'Aaron Fox broke through the pack and threw it down. 88-55 now.
And Team USA, just a different energy and activity level when he's in the game.
Yep. Made a real impact. He had a couple of steals, couple of blocks in that first half. Led to some easy buckets. And I think what you and Chris Mullins said earlier is probably right, that this team may hang their hats on what they do on the defensive end of the floor. And that's really what turned this game around tonight.
Oh, no doubt about it, because they've gotten off to a slow start. You know, it was 8-2.
Yeah.
Select team playing well, kind of getting what they want, and then the switch was flipped. And I think it coincided with him coming into the game where they really started to create that separation because of the activity defensively.
There's Bam Adebayo in the post. The post move, drop step, and flips it up and in.
I think he's going to have a breakout year. He has really improved his offensive abilities. You know, and worked on that mid-range game, posting it better. I think he's going to be a difference maker defensively for Miami as well. You know, there's a lot of talk about whether Russell Westbrook would go to Miami, and they wanted Bam Adebayo to be a part of that package. And the Heat were not having it. They think that highly of that young man.
Been working on his range here in Las Vegas and in his offseason generally. Already a great rebounder, ranked among the top 30 in total rebounds last season. Without playing huge minutes either for Miami. Here's Fox, as fast as they come, goes to the right hand in the finish, and he is just dynamic.
Yeah, there's really no answer for that kind of speed in the open floor.
Jonathan Isaac steps into a transition three. Here's Kuzma. Hear the crowd chanting Kuz again. He's ready to embrace the opportunity to become that third star with the LA Lakers.
Yeah, I think he, what I'd call potentially a complementary star. You know, he's not a guy that's going to create a lot of his own offense, but what he does fits with stars in that, you know, he can space the floor, he runs the floor well. You know, he's a really good straight line driver in the open floor. So when you play with guys like LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you're going to get a lot of opportunities, and he's, I think, proven to be a guy that can take advantage.
Already a really good player with that group, and playing alongside LeBron and AD will probably have to be a better three-point shooter for them to be a contending type of team. But about 30% last season for the Lakers.
Which is unacceptable. And to your point, I think he's got the ability. But part of being a really good shooter is not just your ability to make shots, but really your ability to take good shots.
Right.
And I think the questionable shot selection at times was an issue for him as well. I think the focus is going to have to be better. And I think there will be that because they've, you know, moved on from a lot of those other young guys. And sometimes focus isn't always the priority when you've got an overly young team. Now the expectations are going to be through the roof. A lot more veterans in that locker room. I think that'll help his ability to really hone in on the focus on the mental part of the game. I think that's going to elevate his impact overall.
Well, if there was any question about which the better squad was, it has been answered here tonight.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the boys in blue.
Select team is shooting just over 28% for this game in the face of that really stifling senior men's national team defense we've seen. They're also just 2 of 23 from three-point range.
Well, and in fairness, they took away both their starting guards.
That is sort of
hurt,
inherently unfair when the coaches take away your best players and give them to the other team.
Yeah, that does put you at a distinct disadvantage.
White looking for Allen down low.
And White's an example who's not really a point guard, you know, can play some combo and stretches, but that's not his ideal position, especially against the pressure we've seen from this national team.
That'll be an interesting guard group for the San Antonio Spurs next season. Last season, because of injuries, they had no point guards for periods of time, and now they've got a whole bunch of them. With DeJounte Murray coming back healthy, Lonnie Walker we saw looked great in Summer League as well.
And both those guys have great length and athleticism. I think gives them a different dynamic defensively. Obviously, the experience factor will be a factor. Don't forget White, how good he's improved. So they, you know, that West, you know, with all the movement and the fact that that Golden State team is going to be absent of a couple pretty good players from last season's team with Durant and Klay Thompson until he gets back healthy. I think a lot of teams feel like they're going to have a chance to win the West.
Well, and the East with Kawhi Leonard
that's right.
leaving the champs. Somebody asked me a while back about, is it good for the game that we don't have clear favorites on both sides? And I said, yeah, this is great.
It's good.
It's the first
good
time in about
year.
10 years that I can't definitively say this team is going to win. LeBron's team usually is going to win the Eastern Conference, and this team is probably going to win the West.
Yeah, I mean, you think about that East. That's a great point you bring up, Matt, because you know Indiana, they went out and got Malcolm Brogdon.
Yep.
You know they're going to have that other guy. He's going to be healthy. Victor Oladipo as well. You know, so Milwaukee's still going to be there. Toronto's still going to be a good team.
Still going to be really good.
They obviously won't probably win 60 games or close to it, but they're going to be a factor in that Eastern Conference. Boston is going to be a good team. I'm anxious to see Brooklyn. You know,
Absolutely.
Obviously Durant's not back this year, but you know Kyrie ain't. You know he's not bad.
Kyrie
And he'll
Irving
be
added
motivated.
to a roster that already made the postseason. It's going to be a year better. And Kyrie Irving probably has something to prove.
No, he's going to be
with all the conversation last season about that locker room and his role in the dysfunction, whether warranted or not. It's out there, and he knows it. Just under 3 to go. Senior team in control. Best player of the game sponsored by AT&T. Jason Tatum, after an up and down first week with this Team USA group has been really good tonight offensively.
It started off with, things that he isn't really known for, his ability to catch and shoot the three, knock down triple, 3 of them in that first half, and then he's got into his game. But more importantly for me, the stats offensively were great. I thought he was terrific defensively tonight, which is really the staple of this team in this game. I thought defensively they really got after it, defended the three well, and took advantage of it by getting in transition.
Senior men with a big lead here, under 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And this is an exhibition. The varsity is prevailing, the varsity if you will. An exhibition game, so there are no losers here, with the possible exception of red in the blue-white game. For nearly 2.5 centuries now, red has been an integral part of the national color scheme, yet tonight it has been relegated to trim. And frankly, Greg, it's a travesty.
Yeah, it is. And having played at a school where red was the focal point of our color scheme, I'm with you. I'm in agreement with you. We have there is not a lot of red in the uniform. Although P.J. Tucker has got some sweet kicks. I don't know if you saw those.
Those are not team issued, I don't think.
I don't know, but they got the team colors, and they look good.
They do look good.
And I got to get me a pair.
He might have won the night in terms of shoes.
I'm going to have to get a pair of those. He said he was going to hook me up. So
can you get an extra pair?
I can give me your size. We might be able to work something out.
I can do that.
You're my partner in crime. I got you. I'll get Kristen, too. We got to get Kristen a pair as well.
Sounds good. Let's make it happen.
Yes.
We got a timeout here with 2:15 to go. Jeff Van Gundy's got a 23-point play all ready to go when we come back. Back here in Vegas, final couple of minutes as the U.S. senior national team took control in the second half, really the second quarter, and leads it by 22. Matt Weiner, Greg Anthony, Kristen Ledlow on the sideline. First public exhibition for the U.S. on their way to the World Cup in China, which begins with the Czech Republic on September 1st. U.S. is part of Group E, which includes Turkey, Japan, and the Czech Republic. Turkey's the highest ranked of those teams, 17th. They'll bring a team including Ersan Ilyasova, Cedi Osman, Furkan Korkmaz.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say we're going to win that pool. I'm normally not a gambling man, but I'm going to go out there.
I don't think you're that far out on the limb.
No,
I got to be honest. I feel like you're pretty near the trunk.
I'm at the trunk of the tree.
The U.S. is still a heavy favorite to win the World Cup. Serbia is the next favorite. And then you've got teams like Spain and France. Greece with Giannis Antetokounmpo has not had a ton of international success at the highest level in the last few years, but they have the NBA MVP.
I was going to say, they haven't had an MVP before either.
Right.
So.
And his brothers, all part of that roster.
Boy, that
Serbia is going to be really good.
Going to be busy in Greece. Putting all those letters on those jerseys. Oh, my goodness.
It's a lot of letters.
That's a lot of letters.
Serbia might be the opponent to worry about with Jokic. Bogdan Bogdanovic is on that team. Really know how to play together. Milos Teodosic, who briefly came over to the NBA, good playmaker. Joe Harris, 4-3, back rims that. Spain is, we talked about that group earlier. A bunch of those guys, Rudy Fernandez and Marc Gasol and Yul. A lot of those guys have been playing internationally for years and years and years.
And the one thing that international players taught us, it's not about having the 5 best players. It's about having the 5 that can play best together. Right. When you have the ability to shoot the 3 and not turn it over, that has become the great equalizer in our game. And so it's going to be a challenge this year. Obviously, as you said, favorites, but there is no guarantee as Middleton able to knock down that triple.
U.S. now 11 of 27 from three-point range. They've cooled down a little bit. U.S., the blue team. They're both the U.S. They'll run out the clock. And a good start, good launching point for this senior men's national team. Next stop, Los Angeles, ahead of next week's exhibition against Spain in Anaheim. A week from tonight, then off to Australia for 3 exhibition games, 2 against the home country, Australia, 1 against Canada, and then they'll begin the World Cup formally on September 1st. 57% shooting almost for the senior men's national team, and they win at 97-78. Some impressive performances from De'Aaron Fox, who impacted this game the moment he entered, and Jason Tatum, who got hot, and you mentioned his defense as well in the second half.
I thought those two guys, and Kemba as well, I thought Kemba was really solid. That trio really, I think, set the tone for Team USA, and a barometer. They shot over 40 from three. They made 11 threes. If they're making 10 threes a game and shooting it efficiently, that might be the telltale sign as to whether or not they repeat as world champs.
Double-digit threes in a 40-minute game is
pretty good.
It's no small thing.
Not at all.
It's a big part of the FIBA game, and it'll be a big part of this team's success or failure as they move forward.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to shoot it and defend it and turnovers. I think those are the areas that if you're Greg Popovich, you really feel like you're going to have to win. And they still have the athletes and the talent to do so.
Anybody make this team tonight, in your estimation, who is maybe on the bubble? Or
De'Aaron Fox. They just brought him over from the select team. I just feel like his ability defensively and creating that versatility that Greg Popovich has talked about, because you can play him with Kemba, you can play him with Donovan. He gives you a next-level athlete in the backcourt to go along with Donovan as well. So I feel like he's a guy that has come here and proved he was deserving of the opportunity to represent USA.
Well, for a lot of these players, their time with USA Basketball for 2019 will end tonight. They're expected to make decisions about who makes the trip to Los Angeles tomorrow. Players have the weekend off, and then they'll reconvene in LA. They're expected to take 15 or so players to LA, and then they'll have to cut that down to 12 for the tournament itself. Let's send it over to Kristen.
Jason, what does it mean to you to play for a crowd like this, where so many have your jersey on, so many are cheering your name, as you have the opportunity to represent Team USA?
It's a dream come true to represent your country on a national level, play for guys like Pop, Steve Kerr, and just wear USA across your chest and play with other great players. Only being 21, I'm just happy to be here.
The ride's going to be a fast one. Practices, scrimmages, then you're facing international competition. So what's your takeaway from your team's performance tonight?
We could have did better, but only after 3 or 4 days of being with each other, we did all right. But I'm pretty sure Pop has a lot of things we could do better. So we'll get back to work.
Well, before Pop tells you then what you can do better, what did you notice that you'd like to build upon?
We fouled too much, and that's something we can't do in international play. Obviously, they're very skilled, and they definitely can knock down free throws. So we don't want to give them any easy baskets. So fouling is going to be key for us.
We're looking forward to watching the ride. Congratulations, Jason, and great work tonight.
Thank you,
guys.
Hi, Kristen. Yeah, it wasn't perfect. 24 personal fouls for the senior men's national team, which also turned it over 20 times, but they shot the ball great. Their defense was really impressive, and they get the win 97-78. For Greg Anthony, Kristen Ledlow, and the rest of the crew, I'm Matt Weiner saying good night from Las Vegas. A good start for the red, white, and blue on their way to LA, then Australia, and then China. After a quick break, we'll send it to our studio in Atlanta with Jared Greenberg and Wes Wilcox. So long for now from Vegas.